Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Aaron Bixler. I'm here at Miami University in Ohio, and I want to thank you for joining me today. We'll get started here in a second. I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about Miami University in Ohio and kind of what that involves and what that's all about. And then also more generally, just about how scholarships and financial aid work at universities in the United States. It's something that can be a little confusing. And so hopefully I'll be able to shed some light on that. But first, I'm going to go ahead and go through some slides, just a little bit about Miami University. So first things first, we are Miami University in Ohio. So we're not the one that's in Florida. We're in the southwestern part of the state of Ohio there, probably about 4 or 5 hours from Ontario, and about an hour from Cincinnati, Ohio, which is a metro area of about 2 million people. So that's kind of the closest big city to us. We're in a small university town called Oxford. Also confusing. We're not in the UK. We're like I said, in Ohio. And Oxford's a little university town. About 20,000 students are here, and then about 10,000 people like me who live here year round. So I'm going to go ahead and hopefully this is working and show you a little bit about, yeah, there. So we are as you can see there, we are definitely not the one that's in Florida. We do have all 4 seasons. So it's getting ready to have some winter. We haven't had any snow yet, but it'll be coming in spring, summer, and fall. So we do get all 4 seasons here. And like I mentioned, we are in a town called Oxford, which is a university city with about, like I said, when school's in session, there's about 30,000 people here. And when school's not in session, there's only about 10,000 full-time residents. What that means for our students is that Oxford is not an expensive place to live by U.S. standards. The housing costs here are very reasonable, and it's a safe place to live as well. So those are two kind of big things that our students really like about living in Oxford. And also 2/3 of the population are the same age as you, and they're university students. I mentioned about 19,000 students, in fact, about 18,800 students. And they come from 50 states and 67 different countries. We're mostly undergraduates. So out of those 18,800 students, about 16,500 of them are bachelor's degree students. They're here for their first university degree. And the other 2,300 or so are master's and PhD students. Out of those 18,800 students, a little over 1,000, about 1,100 of them are international students, people that come from all over, including, of course, from Canada, one of our top 10 countries where we see students come from. I want to talk to you a little bit now just about some things that I think make U.S. higher education unique, and I think things that make Miami University really stand out and things that we do well. One big part of studying in the U.S. is the out-of-class experience. And at Miami, you certainly get that. We have 600 different student organizations that you can participate in outside of class. It can be anything from academic clubs to social clubs, athletic clubs, things focused on social justice, things focused on hobbies, things focused on cultural activities. So lots of different opportunities to get involved. And being in a small town, like I said, for our students, what that means is, at the end of the day, after 5 o'clock, on weekends, our students, they stick around. They're here on campus. And so a lot of learning goes on, a lot of activity goes on after 5 and on weekends. And for our international students who can't go home really easily, that's a great thing. Keeps things active and happening here. We are a Division I university here in the U.S. with the NCAA. We have about 18 different Division I sports for which our students compete and which scholarships are available, athletic scholarships. Hockey being probably our most popular one. For students who aren't quite so sure, they're not quite at that skill level maybe where they're competing at the intercollegiate level. You want to do it a little more leisurely. We have 600 different intramural teams where you form a team with your friends and compete against other students here in Miami. And then 50 club sports teams, which kind of are that in between for intramural and intercollegiate sports. So you're on a club, it's student driven, but it is also competing against other universities. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. It doesn't have that time commitment that you'd expect with intercollegiate athletics, but you still get to travel, you still get to compete at a fairly high level. Of course, with club sports, there aren't any scholarships available for that. All right. Fantastic. So, sorry, there we go. All right, sorry about that. Um, Another thing I like to talk about with students is this idea of an original public Ivy, and Miami University being one of these public Ivies. You'll see it in our view books, you'll see it on our website, and I get a lot of questions. What's that mean? Are you in the Ivy League? Is there? I thought the Ivy League schools were private schools. You're absolutely right. The Ivy League itself is a group of 8 private universities on the east coast of the U.S. A public Ivy is not an athletic league. But there was a very influential book that was written a number of years ago that listed 8 public universities that offered the educational experience that you could find in the Ivy League, but at a public university price. And Miami University was one of those 8 original schools, along with schools like University of Michigan, University of California, Berkeley, University of Virginia, schools like that. So it's something we take great pride in. And so you'll see that a lot on our publications, on our website, and that sort of thing. So when students see that and they're curious about that, now you know that's what it means. It refers to this listing that was quite influential that listed these public universities that offered a really high caliber educational experience. What that means for you, for our students, is that you get a great undergraduate education. You get a great graduate education too, but we are mostly undergraduate focused, like I said. And our professors, they come here to Miami University because they love to teach students. And so really from your first day, from your first year, you're interacting with full faculty members, with experts in the field, something you may not be able to do at larger institutions. And they're teaching you really, really from the start. Our professors, they come here because they love to teach students. And we've been rated one of the top 10 public universities for undergraduate teaching for the past 10 years. In fact, this most recent year, we were the number 3 for public universities for teaching undergraduate students. So our faculty really interact great with our students. It's something that you might not find everywhere. Something else you might not find everywhere is this idea that here in the US, and something that Miami really promotes, is that you can combine your interests, right? You can do a double major. You can do a major in at least one minor. I always think of a minor as like half of a major. So if your parents say, you have to be a computer science student, or you really like computer science, but you like theater too, you can do both. You can be a theater major and a computer science major. If you like finance and business, but you want to study psychology, you can do a finance major and a psychology minor. The combinations that you're allowed to do are really limitless, and our students take advantage of it. Almost 60% of them will do a double major or a major, and again, at least one minor. So I think that's something that you're not really pigeonholed from your first year, and you can really set your own course, create your own adventure, if you will, and study a subject for sure, but also explore other interests and be able to combine those in new and unique ways. Another thing we've really been promoting lately, and I think is a really good for our students, is this idea of combined degrees. We have 30 different subject areas where students can get both a bachelor's and a master's degree in 5 or less years. So basically, when you start for your bachelor's degree, after about your 3rd year, you start working on your master's degree as well, so that in 5 or less years, you actually can graduate with both degrees. And we have that available in 30 fields. It's going to save you at least a year, and it may save you more. And it's going to save you time, of course, and also save you some money. So for our popular options in the combined programs, I think political science, statistics, accountancy is a big one, computer science. Those are all programs where you can graduate with both degrees, like I said, in 5 or less years. And I think that is kind of a unique thing about our university. Another unique thing is honors programs, honors college. So they have these at different universities, but Miami has one they've really rolled out recently, and they've made some really positive changes to it. One is the Honors College. This is a residential experience, and students there's about 400 students a year are selected for this, high ability students, and they can be from any major or field of study. They live in the same group of residence halls. They take a couple classes in common. They do some experiences common. They have priority registration and other benefits. They do a lot of special activities. So if you're really interested in an in-depth academic experience, the Honors College may be something for you. Prodesse scholars are students who are kind of within that honors college that are focused on specific subject areas. And then the Presidential Fellows Program is something I'll talk about a little bit later when we talk a little more about scholarships. Another factor of U.S. university education is undergraduate research. So at Miami University, we have thousands of students a year work on funded undergraduate research with professors. They really can start doing that from year one. And if your ultimate goal is to go to graduate school or do any kind of research, having this experience early is a real benefit and something we certainly promote, and we're proud of our students' ability to do that. Like I said 1,000, I said 2,800 is the exact number. Internships, too, are a big part of the U.S. university experience, and our international students love these. And we're one of the top 10 best schools for internships in the U.S. among public universities, and I think that's great. Our students do internships typically in the summer between semesters, but sometimes they'll do them over a semester. Sometimes they'll do them over the winter break. Lots of different options. They're not mandatory. We're not a co-op school that requires them, but they're optional. About 70% of our students will do at least one internship while they're here. So a very, very popular option as well. And most of them, you actually get paid while you do it. Kind of like the research, though, it's great for experience. And finally, in terms of unique activities, study abroad. Even though you're coming maybe as an international student from another country, the ability to study in a third country is something that we encourage all of our students to do. And we've been rated usually one of the top universities for study abroad participation in the U.S. So all these great things you can do while you're at Miami University, but you still need to have a major. You have to have a field of study that you want to study. So there's, sorry, someone asked me a question about the event. So there's just about 120 different majors that students can study here. And this is for bachelor's degree. We also have about 60 master's programs and 12 PhD programs. So our 120 bachelor's programs are divided into these 5 academic divisions that you see here. You see the College of Arts and Science, which is our largest academic division. That's where you're going to find programs like psychology, political science are some of the larger ones, biosciences, languages, humanities. Our College of Education, Health and Societies, where you're going to find our teacher training programs, but also newer programs like sports leadership and management, nutrition, dietetics, exercise science are all in the College of Education, Health and Society. Our Farmer School of Business is nationally ranked as one of the top 50 public business schools in the U.S. And popular options would be traditional majors like finance, business economics, management, marketing, but also newer ones, business analytics, which is a STEM major, and in real estate is another new one that's getting more popular in the Farmer School of Business. I usually tell a joke about you don't have to be a farmer when you're in the Farmer School of Business, but no one really laughs at it. But I tell it, it's actually named after a guy named Mr. Farmer, Richard Farmer, and so that's why it's called that. It has nothing to do with agriculture. Our College of Creative Arts is our smallest division. You're going to find traditional arts programs like theater, music, art, but also actually our computer game design, which is a highly ranked program, is in the College of Creative Arts. Our fashion program is as well. And last but not least, our most popular option for our international students is our College of Engineering and Computing. And our largest engineering major is mechanical engineering, and our fastest growing one is bioengineering. But far and away, our most popular option in that division is our computer science program. So that's kind of an overview about Miami University. I hope I gave that in about 10 minutes. And I'll use the last 10 minutes here to talk a little bit about what I came to talk about, financial aid and scholarships for international students at U.S. universities. So first, you'll see a lot of different names of scholarships and aid. So a lot of people will ask, do you have financial aid? Do you have scholarships? And there's differences between those. So when you're asking about one thing, you're asking about something specific. And maybe not about something else. So financial aid generally is money that is given out by U.S. universities based on financial need. So if you have students with typically high financial need, if they've done like the CSS profile or another form like that, the university assesses their financial need and then can award money based on that. So financial aid is usually tied with need. Scholarships tend to be tied more to academic merit. So it's going to be based on your grades on your activities, any test scores you might have. Money given out based on your previous academic record. And athletic scholarships, of course, are ones that are given to highly qualified students for participation in athletics at Division I and Division II NCAA schools. A little more about need-based financial aid. Most U.S. universities don't have need-based aid for international students. A lot of private schools may have that, particularly maybe very selective schools. They will offer need-based aid to international students, but most public schools don't. Miami, unfortunately, does not offer need-based aid for international undergraduate students. The private schools that do, they're going to typically ask for financial documentation. Generally, the CSS profile is what is used by U.S. universities to determine financial need for non-U.S. students. The FAFSA, which is typically not for international students, is what we use to determine financial need for our U.S. students. So again, financial aid based primarily on financial need. Scholarships, however, are awarded by outside or are awarded based on academics, based on special abilities, outstanding academic achievement. Generally, most merit-based scholarships are going to be awarded by the university that you're applying to. There are some out there that are outside organizations that'll award scholarships to students as well, but most of them come from the university. Again, as I was talking about, they are awarded based on your merit, so they're not going to be based on any kind of financial need. So a lot of money, you don't have any money, your merit should be the same either way, and the scholarship would be offered to you regardless. Generally, grades are the primary factor in awarding need-based or awarding scholarships, but sometimes the SAT or ACT can be considered a lot less now than a few years ago. Leadership potential or special talents scholarships can be offered. For example, we offer some in the arts, in architecture, in music. But generally, grades and school record are the primary thing. Athletic scholarships are really a tricky one. Division I is the largest number of athletic scholarships. Division I universities, that's what Miami's, but they are very competitive. Students really need to start planning out, over a year ahead if they're interested in pursuing an athletic scholarship. Those decisions on who's awarded a scholarship are typically made by the coaches of the individual sports, not by us, not by the admission office. And so students really need to reach out to those coaches early, probably in their 11th grade year, and include information, sports TV videos, and talk about both their academic and athletic abilities when they're contacting these coaches, because that's really going to be important. So the number of athletic scholarships can, of course, vary by sport, and then the amounts vary very greatly by sport as well. And the number that a student coach has is always limited based on the number of slots he happens to have available in any given year. For a sport, for example, like basketball, I think there's 13 scholarships they're allowed to give. So depending on how many people leave, that's going to determine how many they're going to have for the next year. So coach-driven process for sure. Other scholarships, there's different ways that you can apply for them. Some are automatically consideration. So for us, for example, all students who apply for admission are automatically considered for all of our merit scholarships. There's not a separate application that's necessary. However, that's not the case at all schools. Some schools are going to ask for a separate application. Some may even ask for more, separate essays or a video. We do have one scholarship, I'll talk about it in a second, called the You Are Welcome Here Scholarship that we do ask students to write a second essay and or provide a video. And that's going to be more of an assessment of leadership. But our primary merit scholarships don't require an additional application. But that's something you definitely want to check when you're looking at universities. Is there a separate scholarship application? Is there additional work that needs to be done to be considered for a scholarship? And are there additional deadlines or different deadlines for scholarships than there are for admission? And just really quickly, there's some other opportunities out there I always want students to be aware of. In addition to scholarships and financial aid. Internships, I was talking about those a little bit earlier. Many of those are paid. There are some schools out there that build them into their academic program. Those are typically, they call those co-ops, and students will alternate academic semesters with working, and they get paid for that. So that's a way that students can sometimes earn funding. There are undergraduate research assistantships. If you're working for a professor, you can sometimes get paid for that. Similarly, you can work in other offices on campus That's limited by US government regulation, so you can work 20 hours per week maximum, and it has to be on the university campus. So the amount of money you can earn is unfortunately limited. And then scholarships from other organizations. There could be local scholarships that are available. Um, through maybe community organizations and through um, other groups that will be helpful in offering scholarships to students. Um, for example, here in the U.S., things like Rotary or other community organizations will provide small scholarships to students that are heading off to college. And so that's kind of the bigger picture of scholarships here at Miami University. I think I want to talk a little bit now, just to wrap it up. I'm a little bit quick, but hopefully I'll have some time for questions. Talk about how we do things here specifically at Miami and how we work scholarships. Again, it's not necessarily um, how every university does it, but it is how a lot of schools will do it, especially public schools. And so hopefully you can get some information that will be helpful using Miami University as an example. So for Miami, it's no secret that in the United States, higher education is pretty expensive. And you can see here kind of the breakdown of costs for a typical university. So we're going to break it down into tuition and fees. We're going to look at how much does it cost for housing and meals. And then we're going to look at what students might need to pay for things like insurance or travel costs or books or just other incidental expenses. And here at Miami, it's about $64,000 a year. And so, um, yeah, it's a big number, obviously. And so there are ways to reduce that. And here, one way to do that is with scholarships. In fact, for last fall 2022, in fact, 88% of our first year international applicants that we admitted were offered a scholarship. I think it was actually even higher for this past fall 2023, but 88% sounds pretty good. So I left that on there. For our undergraduate students, we have four main scholarships for which students can be considered. We have the two on the left there, the International Education Scholarship and the University Merit Scholarship, are probably the two most common. Both of those are those that I was talking about before, where you don't have to apply separately; you're automatically considered for those scholarships. Whoops. They are, as I was talking about before, with that word scholarship, they are based on merit. So we're going to look at a student's grades primarily. GPA is the most important thing. If you have test scores, be they SAT, ACT, if English isn't your first language and you have an English proficiency score, that's something else you would throw on there. But those are the main drivers for those. The International Education Scholarship has values of typically between $2,000 and $12,000 per year, and they are renewable for all 4 years of a student's degree program. The University Merit Scholarship has values generally between, let's say, $8,000 and $22,000 per year. And these scholarships can be combined for students to increase their overall scholarship award. So, say, well, that's a big range. It's a big number. It costs a lot of money. It costs $64,000 to go to school. Scholarships can be anywhere from, you said, $2,000 up to $30,000. When you're combining them, what should I expect? Well, last year that average was somewhere in the middle. It's about 14. Well, no, it's about $17,000. So some students had more than that, and then there's some that had less than that. But $17,000 was the average kind of scholarship award last year, which was about over 40% of the cost of tuition being covered by that, which is not bad. It still leaves some other costs that must be paid, but it's a good start. And like I said, that's the average. So some students had higher than that. The two on the right are kind of our special scholarship programs. We have our Presidential Fellows Program, and this is the big one. This is the one that pays for all tuition and fees, housing, food, even provides a $5,000 stipend for students to start a research project. So very, very generous. So as you can imagine, very, very competitive. We have a couple thousand students a year apply for this. And we generally offer this to about 15 students a year. Usually 2 or 3 of them are international students. But yeah, it's a great program. Students who are really high ability get this, and they get really 4 full years of free education. You are welcome here scholarship is that one that requires a separate application and a separate essay. Um, and it looking a little more at intangibles, looking more at leadership or, students who are interested in really making a difference. And that pays for 50% of a student's tuition, so about $20,000 a year. It can be combined with those others, that International Education Scholarship and that Merit Scholarship. We give out 2 of those a year for really strong students. Looking back at the Merit Scholarship, um, this is kind of the range in terms of GPA. So we're a public university in Ohio. So what that means is that we have one rate for Ohio residents and another rate for non-residents. And so this is the rate for our non-resident students, which is our international students. So based on the students' grades, you can expect scholarship awards in those ranges. And I can tell you honestly that we generally try to award a little bit higher than that. So especially in that first um, group, the 3.5 to 3.74. Usually it's more like up to 17,000, and then the other ones go from there. So that's kind of just an idea on scholarship amounts for that university merit. And again, they can be combined with some of our other awards, particularly the International Education Scholarship, to increase an overall scholarship award. So, last but not least, um, application deadlines for applying for scholarships. The priority deadline is actually Friday for students who want to start next fall 2024. But we have a lot of flexibility. Priority 2 is February 1st, which is a ways off. And we actually will be probably extending that to April 1st for students who are still interested. And then for spring, we do allow students to start in January. And for our spring semester, December 1st, this Friday, is the deadline for that as well. Although, for students who maybe are coming far, aren't going to have visa issues, we can extend that a little bit also. So those are the deadlines. We do have scholarships, I should say, also for spring as well as for fall. So with that, I'm going to flip off to the last slide. We've got plenty of time for questions. That's our email address on there. And there we go. Yeah, so hopefully, time to wrap up with the questions. Perfect. So going to the questions.
Thank you very much, Aaron.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good breakdown in terms of the scholarships. So we have a couple of questions, not couple actually, we have lots of questions to address. So
Awesome.
yeah, I'll be reading. So the first question is there a master degree scholarship? I think you already answered that one, but you can just remind it quickly.
Yes. Great question. So there are different awards for master's and PhD students, and they generally are given by the individual programs, but there is funding for master's degrees as well in the U.S. particularly. A lot of them is full funding actually, so that's always a good thing.
Yeah, okay, good to hear. So next question is how can I get an athletic scholarship? Uh,
Yeah.
I
So you got
think,
to be
yeah,
good. um, and you have to really reach out to the coaches. The coaches make those decisions. So, you want to connect, usually by like searching a website, connect with the coach of the sport you're interested in, and just reach out to them, give them your information, be it, video, CV, and those sorts of things, and then just start talking with them on that.
yeah. And also if there is like if you want specific links or something, you can feel free to drop by the booth and just like during this fair. And I think Aaron can share some useful links with you guys.
Yep, absolutely.
Sorry for the background noise. Um,
Of course.
there is the same question, and then what are the international student requirements before applying to US university?
Well, so the main requirements for an international undergraduate student, a bachelor's degree student, the main things are you're submitting the application form, which is usually online. Then you have to send us if you're a bachelor's degree student, you have to send us your high school records, your academic records from your secondary school. And then if English is not your first language, you would have to send proof of English proficiency. That's obviously not a requirement for Canadian students, but for students in other countries, it would be. And that would be like a TOEFL or an IELTS or like a Duolingo. We don't require the SAT or ACT, so that's optional. Recommendation letters are optional too. So really those things. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, okay. Um, see requirements. Okay, we answered that one. So the next question is, other than athletic scholarships, are there any other scholarships for international students?
Definitely. So, other than athletic scholarships, there are merit-based scholarships for international students. That's the usual one, and that's going to be based on your grades, test scores, that sort of thing. So that's the big scholarships, and that's the most common ones. Like I said, about 80 some percent of our students were given a merit scholarship of some amount.
Okay. Yeah. Next question is, are there dance programs within universities in the USA?
Yes, there are. I have a child who's in one, so I know a lot more about it than I probably should. Um, So yeah, there's a lot of universities that offer a Bachelor of Fine Arts in dance, and they can be very specialized depending on what type of dance you're interested in. So that's one of those where you kind of have to look at each school, what they offer, and those sorts of things. A lot of them require an audition to be admitted, but there are definitely lots of different options in the U.S. for that.
Yeah. Okay. Um, this is interesting. So, how many hours students are allowed to work during internship?
Okay, so during the school year, when you're like taking classes, you're allowed to work only 20 hours per week. So um, that's very limited. When you're doing an internship, that's when you're basically working full time or like a co-op. So you would be allowed to work basically a full work week. So as an internship, it's like a full time job. So you'd be working probably 40 hours per week in most internships and getting paid for that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But that's
I think
outside of the
it's
school
pretty
year.
common, yeah, for UK, US, 20 hours.
Mhm.
Are international students allowed to work internship or co-ops in USA? I think, yeah, you already answered the
Yep,
questions.
they are. We call it CPT, curricular practical training. So it is allowed with a student visa.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Are there any scholarships that are typically under applied for?
That's a great question. I would say not, for us, not really. We have fortunately have a lot of applicants for our scholarships, but um, that'd be one where you'd want to search maybe your community, your area to see if there's private organizations giving scholarships that maybe not a lot of people know about. Um,
Okay. Um, so there is another question. Will the PowerPoint presentation be shared with the attendees? So I would probably answer that question if Aaron wants to share the presentation. So you can just email him and he can share it with you personally. Other than that, you can the session is actually recorded, the presentation itself, and it will be uploaded on our YouTube channel in the coming days. And I'm sharing the link in the chat so it can be accessed easily. Yeah, I think you have it now, right? Yeah, so, but I'm also sharing can I share your email address? Is there any specific?
yeah, that
You
would
can
be.
just drop your email, the one the students can contact you, and I can share it in the chat. So if they require presentation, so you can send them.
Okay, that sounds great.
Yeah. So okay, what is the easiest scholarship? Do you post the slides? I think we answered that one. Yes, we do post we don't post slides. We do post the presentation recording, which can be accessed through the link on the YouTube channel, and it will come in the like 2-3 days. So stay tuned for that.
Awesome.
Another question, Aaron, for you: what percentage of a first year students' costs can be covered by a D1 athletic scholarship?
Okay, that's a great question. That's trickier than you think. So athletic scholarships can vary based on the sport. So certain sports, every student who gets an athletic scholarship gets a full scholarship, so 100% of their costs are covered. But there are a lot of sports where the coaches can give out partial scholarships. So that would vary on what the coach awards. For example, in track and field or swimming, there could be scholarships where a student maybe get a 20% scholarship or a 50% scholarship versus basketball or volleyball where everyone, gets 100%. So it depends on the sport, really. Anywhere from 10% to 100%.
Okay, yeah, good to know. Then next question is, I think we. Yeah, so I answered that again one more time. So to answer the question about the slides, I will share, uh, like I don't know, I will share shortly the email where you can email Aaron and he can probably share the slide. Other than that, you can watch the session, the recording of the session on our YouTube channel where I shared the link. And let me check if we have more questions. Okay, yeah, we haven't. I think we still have a bit of time. So the question is, what if I want to be an athlete but I don't get a university through athletic scholarship? Are there clubs, teams I can still join regardless or not having an athletic scholarship?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of levels of sport that is built into U.S. university. So most students, average students who are here, taking classes, getting an education, they're not participants on the um, athletic teams that give scholarships, but they can certainly participate in our. We have 600 different intramural teams where you can participate with for your friends against other Miami students. So those are called intramural sports, and then we have club sports too. We actually would compete against other universities, but it's not on a scholarship basis. It's student driven, so the coaches are generally other students. It's kind of self-funded. So there's lots of ways to continue on with that with your athletic interests outside of the NCAA teams for sure.
Yeah, it's good to know.
Mhm.
And I believe this is the last question, Aaron, for you. Um, at minimum, what is the cost of a Canadian citizen coming to America to study?
Hmm. That yeah varies. There's a lot of factors that would determine that. Where you study, different schools have different costs, scholarship amounts. Certainly there are Canadians in the U.S. who are here at U.S. universities on full scholarship, so they're paying almost nothing. And then there's some that are, attending very expensive universities and paying the full cost. So I think there's a price. I think students are well served to, look at the price of universities, but also look at the scholarship options and see where it might land as a total cost, and then kind of use that as the basis to, decide what works best, for you. Because it's a huge range for sure.
Yeah, it's fair. I agree. I believe. Let me just check one more time. Okay, yeah, we have one more question, Aaron. I think we have still a bit of time, so we would read. So even if it isn't required, will having a high SAT score increase my chances of admission?
We're test optional, so you can still be admitted and you can still receive a scholarship without the SAT for sure. I would say if you've taken the SAT and you've done really well, you should definitely submit it. It definitely won't hurt, and it can only help.
Okay.
I'm still a proponent of it, although it's not a requirement. It's recommend it's an optional, but I would recommend it if you've already taken it and you've done well, definitely send it in.
Okay. I think we have couple of minutes. We can wait for some questions to come. In the meantime, Aaron, would you like to share any email address where students can reach you out with me in the chat?
Oh, see with you? Yeah. So the fastest way to connect with me in my office is through our main email address.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for that.
Um, and we monitor that multiple times a day, and that's kind of our catch-all, and we can get you whatever information you need or whatever questions you have. We can certainly get back to you on that.
Okay. Last question. Last call. So, what degree do you need to complete in order to get a master's?
It varies, right? So generally, you're going to need to have a bachelor's degree first, and then based on what program you want to have your master's in, you may need a bachelor's degree in a specific subject. So if you're want a master's degree in biology, you may need to have a bachelor's degree in that same field. But generally, for any postgraduate degree, master's, PhD, at minimum, you're going to need a bachelor's degree. Typically in the US, you're going to need a bachelor's degree that's a 4-year degree as well, although that can vary. So a 4-year bachelor's degree is kind of what you need to get going for a master's. All right, are we done? We lost that. All right, I think we're wrapped up. And yeah, thanks so much for attending. And if you have any questions, definitely reach out to us at that email. So thank you again.